Holding your breath every play, but you've got to get those kids. We can't continue to play those guys 12 to 15 minutes a night and expect them to be sharp come Saturday against Coach Foley and those guys. So it's a tribute to how well everybody is playing right now. Everybody you put in can score, and everybody you can put in is not turning it over, and everybody you can put in is spacing the floor and rebounding and defending. Our defense was as good as it's been all year long. The press bothered them, forced them into more turnovers than we're used to creating, and then we got outscored in transition. So I thought for what we needed for today, build some momentum going into finals. We got some kids that really need to have a 99 to 39 win in classroom this next week. So they can do that, and we can still practice a little bit, work on our skill, and be ready for Arkansas Little Rock on Saturday.
I guess I'll start with one thing about Kiara getting some minutes. I mean, where is she at this point?
She's not 100% ready. She could probably play. I mean, she plays. She probably played. That's probably about what we were hopeful of.
Okay.
She's had 2.5 full practices. Don't want to rush her back. There's no need, but I do want to get her lungs, go out there and get that first burn so you know you're not going to die the next time. And then the other thing that, we talked about this at the beginning of the year, I've always wanted to be able to play two post players together. And now that argument starts back up in Chantel's office tomorrow morning. With her back, being able to play 8 to 10 minutes, as well as Aaron continues to play and Taylor continue to play. Those are the discussions we're going to have.
Well, and I'll go further there with the 2 games this week Aaron's had. So she's, continuing to show growth.
Yeah, and she's got a knack for finding the ball around the basket to finish, rebounding it, and the thing that she.
Well, hello. Yes, we are in. It's our recap Monday for Demetrius and myself here on the old Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. Real quick, want to give a shout out to our sponsors and let everyone else know if you'd like to sponsor here on the Hill Sports Talk Radio, you can do so by reaching out to us. That's on the Hill patj@gmail.com. Also, too, you can reach us at our Facebook Live page. That's on the Hill Sports Talk, or our YouTube Live. That's on the Hill Sports Talk LLC. You can reach us that way. But on to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, and also too in Rogers. Locomotion, and that's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. Anything you need, residential, commercial, exterior, it doesn't matter. Contact Corey Beck and you will not be disappointed. And also to KDK's Chicken. That's located at 989 South Razorback Road. Get down there, see Keith and Kathy. Get a plate of that love, like they say on their building. It's not your mama's. The best chicken and waffles in the South. But on to my producer, Demetrius Johnson. How's everything going on the first part of the week, my man? I know you got an early morning gig that you do. So, much respect, for being able to come in here and produce this great show that we're able and blessed to bring to the listeners.
Yeah, it's holiday season, so I'm trying to run it up for the holidays, save some money going to the new year. Focus and open.
What so far has been, I think, a week now having Coach Pittman, and we're going to get off into basketball today. If you have any basketball questions, but let's just throw out the questions today on our recap, as Demetrius and I will be reading all of our viewers' questions and trying to answer as many as we can in Recap Monday. But one of my questions will be, what's the temperature, Coach Sam Pittman, from the fan base? Are you in particular the fan? Now that Coach Pittman's been named as the head football coach, where are you at a week into the pit boss being the head hog?
Me?
For anyone. Anyway,
For me,
that's one of our questions for today.
I stand where I've always been. I thought Sam Pittman was a good hire just because of relationships and his background with the SEC. I think he was starting off strong. Wednesday's going to tell a lot. I think if he can just get a couple of guys to kind of springboard going into the second half of signing day, I think he can come out with a decent class. And, I think there's some potential players on campus that he can really utilize and coach up. Guys like Ricky Stromberg. So
right,
I just think it's good pieces here. He can get a couple of guys, and then I know he'll get some great players from JUCO, just with the relationships he has. So I'm not really worried about it right now.
And when you think about the hires, Brad Davis, offensive line coach, keeps Coach Stepp. Also, too, over the weekend during a big important recruiting weekend, revealed on the Paul Feinbaum show that Barry Odom was going to be his defensive coordinator. Talk about those hires, good hires, bad hires. I mean, those are going to be some more questions that all of our listeners, if you want to chime in and give us your take on those new additions to the Razorback football staff. I want to ask you about those three, Demetrius. Where are you at?
I like them. Barry Odom, I think that was a good pick. Just hiring a former head coach, not only in the SEC, but, can give you a kind of a picture of what Arkansas holds, just playing them twice. He's played Arkansas since he's been in Missouri, but he's especially seen the last 2 years in the downfall. As far as the guy from the offensive line coach, I think it's a good pick. You have a guy that's kind of young. He fits in with what's current, not too far removed from football. And I think that's important that you go get guys that can relate immediately. And then finally, Coach Stepp. I think that was a good pick. You're big on Coach Stepp, and I don't think Coach Stepp is a bad coach at all. I thought that was somebody that I felt Sam Pittman could go replace and probably go get better coaching ability, but I think what he understood was the relationships that he had, and to understand it was a political move to make sure he keeps some of that locker room and have an immediate influence in that locker room. So I like the pick because it shows the GM in Sam Pittman. It's not always about who I can better bring in. It's about who fits the puzzle, and I think when you look at where they are right now, especially from a continuity standpoint, it's good to have familiar faces in that locker room since you don't have guys like Barry Lundy anymore on the coaching staff.
Well, like I said, the one thing that you always heard me talk about with why I was so big on Sam Pittman from the get-go, and this even goes back before Chad was even hired the first time around, is, like I said, his connection and the way he's able to recruit. This is a big-time recruiter, and I don't care who you are, but if you're a recruiter, you're a great communicator. You have a way to build a relationship with individuals that not a lot of people, are able to, succeed in. I mean, a lot of people get nervous being around different cultures and environments. That when you're able to go into any type of surrounding and make the person that you're directly trying to communicate with feel really reassuring that you're in their presence. I think that's something that's really unique, and that's the one thing that gave me so much excitement about Sam Pittman when he was the offensive line coach. The times that I was out on the practice field, I had no doubt in my mind that Sam would one day be a great head coach, either at Arkansas or some program, but I knew one day he'd get his opportunity, and then to be able to surround himself with guys like Brad Davis, Barry Odom and Justin Stepp, three guys I think are really elite recruiters and have a hunger to come and build at different places. I think that's going to be the one thing and I always felt like this is going to be a good thing for Justin Stepp to be able to be in a program and be a position coach out from under the wings of a Chad Morris. I mean, he's been with Chad all the way through Clemson and SMU here at Arkansas. This is going to be something I think that's going to really be beneficial. And then Barry Odom, speaks for itself. Maybe, he's 25 and 25 as a head coach, but I think the accountability and toughness that he's going to bring for, Coach Pittman on that defensive side of the ball, I think it goes, you can't measure that.
Yeah, we have a question from Doyle, a.k.a. DB. Why do you think Stephen Jones didn't get more playing time this year?
I think there was I think when Chad and Joe Craddock and that staff brought in Nick and Ben, I think there was a sense of having to feel more apt to play those guys. With them being seniors and grad transfers, I think I think those guys have more of a let's do the loyal thing rather than let's play the best player mentality is what I felt like. I felt like there was too much, and I'm not going to, these guys are going to be great coaches, and I'm pretty sure have been successful coaches before they came to Arkansas, so let's not shortchange what they did, but they never had the confidence to play the best player, and I've always said this, there is no age limit to playing in the SEC. If he's a freshman, he's the best player, you got to play him. I mean, you don't have time for kids to mature as a head coach or a staff. If you don't play the best player, then 9 times out of 10, these are going to be the results that should have been. And I think John, Steven, and probably KJ, those two guys, man, you talked about it all year long, Demetrius. Those should have been the two guys. If I'm going to go down, I'm going down with two better quarterbacks, be it Young or not. I'm going down with John, Steven, and KJ, not being a Nick.
So answer this: what's going to be Sam Pittman's retention rate from the returning team? Do you see or foresee a lot of players trying to transfer out? How do you think the reception is going to be once everything does get locked in and it gets close to spring ball? Do you see more people transferring before spring ball or after spring ball? What's your take on that?
I'm going to personally say that I'm going to just be real. It'd be a bad time to transfer from the University of Arkansas if you're already on the current roster. I'll just put that out there right now because I think what you're going to miss is Coach Pittman's going to put together an elite staff that can develop you, that have developed players before you and will after you to have a chance to play on Sundays at elite levels, which I think that's what all college players aspire to do. And I think they're going to be able to play with other elite players. I think they're going to be able to recruit some of the SEC's best and some of the nation's best. So I think if you're on this, in this program now where you have a chance to be in a program and kind of reinvigorate your career, kind of like I liken this to kind of like the way Malcolm Monk, the senior, who's gone on to play overseas, and when Mike Neighbors, Arkansas's coach at the moment, took over after Jimmy Dykes era. Malika and those young ladies stayed. The Zimmermans, the Raven, Norcross Bakers. They came on and gave all they had, and they stuck it out. And you look at what they were able to do. 2 years into the program of Coach Neighbors, get them to the first SEC ever championship game. So I think if you're KJ and Traylon, Matea, all those guys, and even sophomores like a Buster Brown, you want to stay around and start something because you can always look back and know that you were the foundation for this program. So, my question, would be, if you think about transferring now I know Sam's going to meet with, in portions of the football team, he's going to meet with all 85, but I think he's going to do 40 at a time today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, which lets me know that his priority, he knows that he has to recruit his own team, his current roster, before you can move on to recruit your future roster. That's the one thing I know Coach Pittman's going to get, is he gets it in the SEC, and he's going to have the type of coaches, Demetrius, that are going to be able to pull in. As he says, if you're going to play football in the SEC, you better have the real deal. And, he's not going to be scared to jump in and offer those 5-star kids at any moment. Arkansas, you're going to see Arkansas is going to jump in the middle of a lot.
Yeah, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. Arkansas still has that selling pitch of having early playing time because I think even with the returning players, there's no guaranteed spots. I think anytime you go 2-10, 2 years in a row, I think once you have a new coach, all spots are open again, given, if guys like Rakeem Boyd stay, he's going to be your running back. So there's maybe like 1 or 2 positions that you can say guys are for sure locked in. But outside of that, I think, Sam Pittman has to really rebuild this team from the ground up. But he still has that selling pitch of saying, hey guys, you can come to the University of Arkansas and create something special. Hey, you can come here and create a brand. Right. This new hog, this Arkansas strong, the University of damn Arkansas, those are things that Sam Pittman is selling to these younger guys. Right. I think it's still going to be pretty enlightening and interest of some of these young seniors coming into college.
And I also too think, I think the first thing Sam does, and I want to thank Steve Wilson for making and alluding to this comment. I want to jump into that. If you're Coach Pittman and that staff, you want to first and foremost before you move on with any of these current roster players on the team, is ask them the first, do you want to be at the University of Arkansas? You have to find out that before we can move any type of mountain. Do you want to be at the University of Arkansas and help, get this program turned around? Because if you don't have the desire right off, then you're already at a disadvantage, and eventually that particular player will come to a point where they'll enter the transfer portal. So I think you have to continue to get the dead leaves out, get all the players that don't want to be here. It's hard, and I know you're gonna, if you leave him, then he's not being fair to these kids. No, the first thing is be upfront. Do you want to be at the University of Arkansas? And then you move on from that. But I think, once these kids get a chance to meet you, to talk to this staff and Coach Pittman, it's just going to be hard. It's going to be hard not to want to play for Coach P. He's that type of coach. But we want to move on. We're going to take a quick break. We caught up following the women. And let me get this out. The women have won 2 games this week. Let me tell you this. By 50 points and by 60 points. That's a total of 110 points. I'm talking about the basketball these ladies are playing. If you hadn't gone out and checked out this top 25 ranked ball club, I'm telling you, you're missing out. There's some special things Coach Neighbors in that program, Coach Schaefer, Coach Love, and Coach Osfor building over there. I'm telling you, go check them out. But we caught up with Amber Ramirez and Michaela Daniel. We'll let you hear what they said post that 60-point blowout. Yes, the 60-point blowout over Northwestern yesterday in the Bud. And then we'll come back and we're going to talk hoops. We'll talk Must Bus. Question for Must Bus, where are you at with them? Is this a tournament team, the way this team is playing? What Mason Jones, Isaiah Joe, where are you at with this team? What's the confidence level going forward? I like it. We'll find out more about them as well. This On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, can you just talk about the start a little bit? You got off 8-0, but they kind of came back a little bit. But after that, it seemed like they did. Any changes out of that timeout? Did he change defenses or something when you guys kind of applied a little three-quarter court pressure? Because after that, it seemed like things kind of.
I think we started off really well. I didn't even know it was 8-0. I didn't even notice that. But at a timeout, we did change up our defense, and we just started applying a little bit more pressure. Got engaged a little bit more on the defensive end. And I think that really got us going. I think defense gets our offense going.
Like you said, we made adjustments in the timeout, and it ended up benefiting us.
Amber, you feel like when one goes in, do you feel like the next 2 or 3 are going in? Is it just is it a feel thing for you?
Well, the last couple of games, I would say I've been a little slumped, and my teammates just have confidence in me to keep giving me the ball. So once one goes in, they keep feeding me. They just keep going after that.
I want to go back to Rose's block. Both of you.
Coach Todd, I was sitting next to Coach Todd on that possession, and he was yelling, "Give back, give back." And everybody knew Rose was going to go try to block that. She let the girl go right by her. So and that was like a little spark, I guess, to go into the third quarter.
Yeah, I think Ro played with her a little, which is a little rude, but it was exciting, and I think we all enjoyed it. So.
It's the 24-0 run. Kind of what sparked that? Did y'all ever feel that they were going to score during all that?
When was this?
There's tied 13-13, and you were up 37-13 from the midway of the first quarter.
Welcome back. It's our Monday edition. It's our Recap Monday here on OTH, on KDSJ 479. We like to come to you each and every Monday with our recap of all goings-ons in the Razorback sports world. But I believe Demetrius said we had a question by one of our loyal listeners, and they always got good questions. Who we got?
We got BWC. He says, do you think in the next few years that we can get a 5-star player, or can we get one this year?
Like I said, I'm not going to put any limitations on Sam Pittman and his recruiting ability or the staff that he's going to be able to put together. I think he's really going to surround himself with a lot of coaches that truly believe that Arkansas is the best job that they're going to have and the best place to build a really nationally known program. And I think the guys that he stands at the podium and names as assistant coaches, they're going to have to believe that wholeheartedly. They're going to have his vision. When you have that and when that staff is put together, yes, I do think with some of the coaches he'll bring in, and just Sam Pittman, his nationally known recruiting ability. I think that we will see 5 stars coming through this program in the near future under Coach P.
I say this year. I don't know.
He could. Hey, this shit don't put nothing past him.
And I say that because I don't know if you still will consider this a 5-star, but I think he goes and gets one of those former 5 stars that's in the JUCO ranks that maybe didn't have the grades or didn't have the SAT score to go immediately to their prospective D1 school, but was still ranked in that 5-star category in their respective position. So
it's hit already, Demetrius. Already hit 3 kids have been offered. I believe 2 kids. I believe at Hutchinson, 2 defensive linemen, and then a JUCO linebacker at Garden City. Just over the last 24 hours, Coach P's he's reached out into the junior college ranks.
So I say somewhere in there he does sneak in a 5-star, maybe not 5-star ranked in the class of 2019, but I think he sneaks in somebody that was a highly ranked recruit.
I think you'll get, and I think fans need to keep an eye on Chad Lindbergh, a 5-star offensive lineman that out of League City around the Houston area in Texas that Coach Pittman had previously committed to him at the University of Georgia. I think here in the coming weeks we'll hear Lindbergh's name come up quite a bit as a possible visitor and possible signee under Coach Pittman. Because I'm telling you, Demetrius, think about that. When you have a combination of Coach Pittman and Coach Davis, that's pretty impressive. I mean, guys that's been there and done that, won national championships, been named All-Conference All-Americans. I'm really impressed by that. But DWC, great question. I mean, really, really good question. I mean, and let's get on to basketball, Demetrius. They ended up having their way with Tulsa this weekend. I mean, right before we came on air, you had mentioned that you were kind of surprised that Mason Jones, who, by the way, has been named the SEC Offensive Player of the Week in the SEC, 41 points on Saturday, 18 shots, went 12 of 13 from the free throw line. Talk about Mason and his importance and, just the way this team continues to perform as a team through, I think, the first 11 games. Because I think they're, 9-1, 10-1? I believe 10-1 through 11.
See, I didn't really see how valuable a player Mason was to the team. All year I've been saying, hey, man, they don't have a guy that can really just score at will. And I think Mason Jones is that guy that they look at to kind of do the scoring at will. I thought that role was going to be more so built for Isaiah Joe. I just felt like he was going to be that threat behind the 3-point line, and he was just going to be that scorer when they needed a bucket. But I can honestly say it's between Mason Jones and Jimmy Whitworth, guys that they look to in that crunch time or when they can't get a bucket to get a ball to and make it happen. So I definitely credit Mason Jones for developing his game and really buying into the Musselman area.
And I think, you got to credit Coach Musselman and that staff for, making these kids identify what type of basketball players that they are and play to their strengths. I mean, we all know that even when you go back to last season, when Mason was driving to the bucket, Mason was a problem. And then it was able to create his step back and create space for his jump shot as he was able to get it off. And also, too, when you talk about Jimmy Witt, he's an older guy. A lot of people don't, understand that when Jimmy Witt came to the University of Arkansas as a grad transfer, he was one of the, as far as grad transfer point guards, one of the leaders as far as rebounding and averaging points a game. And when you're going to get a guaranteed 4, 5, 6 rebounds from an individual that's done it at the collegiate level, you're going to get that 12 to 14 points. He's done it at the collegiate level. You throw that in to Jimmy, coming in, and then Mason, and then with Isaiah, I think forward is that that at some point Isaiah's going to get it going. I mean, he's too good of a shooter not to get on a run. And I think with him not having to have so much of the scoring responsibility on him so early, that's going to allow him to play himself into that rhythm. And then, eventually Gentile Silla, a young man that's another grad transfer that Coach Musk brought in. You have to figure at some point this guy's going to come out of a slump that he's been playing in. And then Reggie Chaney. So I think, the more and more they play, this team has to understand they're going to have to, scrap and claw. They're a small team, so they're going to have to defend, run the floor, and play good defense. I mean, and shoot the ball at a high clip, but take smart shots is basically, how they're going to win a lot of ball games. And up to this point, they've done that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with the eligibility of the big man. Going into this actual spring semester. They said they're gonna review his status to see if he's eligible to play. So I think if they can get Jimmy Witt, Mason Jones, Isaiah Joe, and the big man to come in, I think Arkansas can really make a special run in the tournament this year. I think with Kentucky down and teams like North Carolina, I think they lost to Wofford last night.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. So you're seeing
it's going to be a down year for Carolina.
You're seeing true blue blood college basketball teams lose. So I think the NCAA looks at Arkansas and says, "Hey, these guys are kind of making a trend upward. Maybe we should give the eligibility because if we were in Michigan or Ohio or or North Carolina, we would have the big man eligible right now. But I think the upper powers maybe that's watching down. I think they're seeing Arkansas make this run and really can see that we are probably one of the better top 30 teams right now in college basketball.
So I know another one about Billy Wayne Carter. He said he wishes Arkansas had a big man to help rebound. And I know Coach Muss and Coach Crutch, Mosier, and Williams, they all would love to have Connor Vanover. Unfortunately, was not given the okay to play this year. So you have to wait a year. I mean, you have what you have, and I think with this coaching staff, they're able to formulate game plans, game by game, opposed to the personnel that they're facing, I think, on each and every night, on the road or at home. I think that's the good thing is the staff is so well-rounded with all the knowledge that they have, either at the professional, the collegiate, or junior college or high school. So they're able to formulate so many things and taking, the roster that they have. I think Reggie Chaney or Ethan Henderson, both maybe 6'8", or 2 6'8" guys, the two tallest that they have. Hey, you got to scrap. You got to play defense. You got to play defense at a high level at that, and you got to score points and be efficient when you take your shots and make sure the guys that are the shot makers are the shot takers. That's just what you have to do, and I think they've done a really, really good job to this point. Now, there's still yet a long road to go. They got Valparaiso. They got Indiana at Indiana. So I think these next two ball games for Coach Musselman and that staff, you'll get a chance to see even more of just where this team at. And I do think with all the hard lessons, Demetrius, think about that. With all the hard, close losses that they had at a very young age, because this was a very young basketball team, do you kind of see you were at that, I believe, Northern Kentucky game, and they didn't play well, but they stuck to defense. Last year, we would not have seen that. They would have sulked because they weren't making shots. Okay, the growth of this basketball team going forward has to really excite you if you're Coach Musselman.
Absolutely, and to add on to what Billy Wayne Carter was asking about the big man, I think Jamario Bell coming over from football will be a great addition. I think it's going to be a guy that can really bring a physical presence. A lot of people don't know he has a background in basketball. He was a 2A, All-State player in the state of Arkansas. So I think he can really bring a defensive presence and a rebounding presence. He may not give us, buckets on the offensive side of the ball, but I think when you look at something that Arkansas really needs, which a lot of people, are saying rebound, I think he can, add 2 to 4 rebounds a game that can really benefit Arkansas.
Now I got to play devil advocate. During this holiday, should Arkansas basketball play more games than Little Rock? During the holidays, the month of December, with the students leaving, should they play like at least an extra basketball game where one's enough?
I think it makes sense.
This Saturday they get a good one. They get Valparaiso men versus Arkansas, and then they get the girls playing UALR, and all this is taking place on Saturday. I mean, you got to be, if you're a Razorback sports fan, you got to be pretty excited to be in that area this coming weekend.
Yeah, I think it makes sense from a business standpoint. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a good idea because then you bring stress on your players. You're going to spend money getting a hotel. So there's things in there that necessarily don't benefit Arkansas. But when you look at maybe crowd participation and the ability to go down there and involve your entire state, going to Little Rock because you get access to the entire state as a whole to kind of go to the center part of Arkansas. So, it makes sense. I don't think it's a bad idea. Let me say that. I don't think it's a bad idea. And I think fans down in Southern Arkansas will really appreciate it.
Well, I mean, this is we're gonna have to wrap up our recap. It's real good questions once again from our viewers and listeners. As we'll make a note, this coming Wednesday we will have media availability with Coach Sam Pittman as early signing period begins on Wednesday. He'll talk about possibly some early signings. I know there's going to be about 5 or 6 that's going to ink with the Hawks on Wednesday, and then I think Coach is going to give us an update on just where he stands with the continuously feeling of his staff with his assistant coaches. We'll have all that to you on Wednesday, but we'll be back tomorrow with much, much more. Continue to think about questions and get in with us. We're going to keep it and make it the holidays. It's going to be about you all. Talk with us. We'll talk back because we like to do that. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers, the Baymont Locomotion located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall, Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and lastly, KDK's Chicken, located at 989 Razorback Road. Get down there, see Keith, Kathy. Get a plate of that love, and like their motto says, it's not your mama's. The best chicken and waffles in the South. But that's going to do it for myself, for my producer Demetrius, to you all. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Baby God.